Welcome to Front Page, only on the AIM Network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. Is it just me, or you have also felt this, that it's been a week of mixed signals? A high-profile summit made headlines for disruption and controversy. At the same time, billions of dollars in infrastructure commitments were announced, and global firms outlined long-term plans with India at the center. So what should we focus on? The missteps or the momentum? To help you decide, here are the headlines. India's AI Impact Summit 2026 was overshadowed by logistical chaos, a controversy over a Chinese-made robot presented as indigenous, and exhibitor disruptions, even as the event showcased major advances in healthcare AI, automation, and sovereign AI initiatives shaping India's long-term AI ambitions. India's AI infrastructure push accelerated as Yotta Data Services announced a $2 billion NVIDIA Blackwell-powered supercluster featuring over 20,000 GPUs and one of Asia-Pacific's largest DGX cloud deployments. Microsoft is set to invest $50 billion across the global south to scale AI infrastructure and adoption, with India emerging as the strategic hub driving sovereign cloud, skilling, and population-scale AI deployment. Did the Impact AI Summit deliver substance or just optics? We'll discuss funding commitments, policy signals, industry reactions, and execution risks with our senior associate editor to separate announcements from outcomes. And finally, as enterprises move beyond AI pilots to agentic execution, global organizations are now demanding measurable ROI, workflow automation, and legacy modernization, positioning India as a critical execution hub powering enterprise AI transformation, and that too at scale. Deepak Visweswariah, Senior Vice President and Managing Director, India at Pegasystems, is joining us live today. The India AI Impact Summit 2026 opened with the world watching. It did not open smoothly though, but within hours, the headlines no longer were about the trillion-dollar AI dream. Instead, were about chaos, controversy, and about a robotic dog whose bite was stronger than its bark. I'm of course going to pull back the curtains on what really happened. Day one at Bharat Mandapam started more like a gridlock. Long queues, overcrowding, delegates trapped outside for hours. But when we stepped inside, it was not so very different, as it gave way to pure scramble and chaos. Security sweeps for VIPs, booths shut down. Some founders actually lost access to their own very stalls. And the friction caused by all of this was very unsettling, forcing the IT minister himself to step in and apologize. Then something shifted online. At a university stall, Galgotia's, a robotic dog named Orion was presented as a fully in-house creation. There were smiles for the cameras. Then the viewers began making comparisons, because Orion appeared to belong to a different breed, one already on sale in China. And guess, the Sherlocks on the internet made it look elementary. The final finding, Orion wasn't Indian. It was the Unitree Go2, a Chinese-made bot you can buy for 2 to 3 lakh rupees. Busted, exposed, and caught in 4K. The authorities kicked them out, obviously. The university tried to backpedal, claimed it was just a learning tool. But the video receipts were already out. So suddenly, the whole summit was asking, are we building or just buying? Bengaluru startup Neo-Sapien had their AI variables vanish during a VIP security sweep, only to recover them later. The panic turned into an accidental masterclass in viral marketing that absolutely broke the internet. And of course, how can we not address the elephant in the room while summarizing the summit till now, which is the hardware. When one walks the expo floor, you cannot help but notice that much of what you see have traces back to Chinese manufacturing, which is not unusual. Modern supply chains are global and components cross borders long before logos are applied. But you know what? It does kind of complicate the story which is being told. We all know India wants sovereign AI, but where does sovereignty actually begin if the very synthetic ground we are walking on comes from global supply chains? That's an uncomfortable question. So the point is, are we innovating or are we just integrating? But of course, we should not just focus on the cynical voices. Real work is also very much a part of the conversation, because only a few hours back, Bengaluru-based Sarvam AI unveiled 30B and 105B parameter foundation models, positioning itself against global leaders such as ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and DeepSeek. The 30B model hits a very crucial efficiency sweet spot, balancing performance and compute, making it ideal for conversational AI, translation, and enterprise deployment. Built and operated in India, it supports 22 Indian languages, enabling AI access at national scale. Sarvam also demonstrated Vikram, its chatbot that can function even on a feature phone. The 105B model that I mentioned earlier targets complex reasoning and high intelligence tasks, showcasing capabilities like financial analysis and document comprehensions that actually traditionally take hours, now are delivered in seconds. Backed by over $53 million in funding, Sarvam is building sovereign AI infrastructure designed for India's linguistic diversity, enterprise needs, and of course, the real-world deployment. Healthcare AI, announcing diagnostic costs for rural India, a very poignant moment. AI imaging, hunting down TB, diabetic retinopathy, and cancer, defining real impact. Firefighting robots sniffing out danger zones with AI sensors. Autonomous tractors taking over the intensive manual farm jobs. These account for as the homegrown wins, which we must go ahead and congratulate. 3 days done, 3 more to go for the summit, of course, because the summit has been extended by 1 more day. And the big guns are still loading. Sarvam AI is gearing up to announce India's first fully indigenous LLM. Bharat Gen is pushing multilingual AI infrastructure, which is compute, expansion, sovereign models, which means the money is flowing irrespective of everyone still buzzing about the robotic dog controversy. Here is, as always, the front page take. India wants the world-class crown, and why not? But the execution, unfortunately, has been tacky and lacking. When you invite global leaders promising a 10,371.92 thousand crore rupees India AI mission and celebrate thousands of GPUs, you do not serve them long queues and an underwhelming stage setup. You actually want to go ahead and figure out, because optics do matter, and so does the experience you serve up. That stays with the people for long. India has the ambition. Now it needs the polish. Sloppy beginnings accompany revolutions. But you know what? They shouldn't define them. Mohandas Pai yesterday on front page had said, the summit and all should happen in Delhi, man. But the real gravity is in Bengaluru, which has rightly won the title of being the real tech theater. DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis knows it too. He was just at IISc Bengaluru, scoping out the research depth. Pai estimates we need 50,000 crore rupees in risk capital to keep builders right here, to scale innovation, to compete in the big leagues. India's AI moment will not be defined by flashy events. That's correct. It will be defined by cold, hard capital. And more importantly, relentless execution by having the right people at the right positions and a ruthless ecosystem. Please do let us know what you think in the comments below. Of course, earlier today, we have to share this with you. It's very important news. AIM has announced its 10th edition of India's biggest and oldest AI summit, Cypher 2026, which is, of course, starting from the October 7th to 9th, 2026 at KTPO, Whitefield, Bengaluru. As we always say this time we are expecting more people, but our, well, estimate is more than 5,000 plus attendees expected each day, 100 plus speakers, live demonstrations, and interactive workshops. Cypher 2026 is where India's AI ecosystem meets the future. And of course, Wi-Fi is going to be front and center. Do not miss this one. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM, man. The real impact got lost in the controversy. Big news! Indian data center firm Yotta Data Services will build a $2 billion AI computing hub powered by NVIDIA's latest Blackwell Ultra chips. The supercluster will host one of Asia Pacific's largest DGX cloud deployments and is expected to go live by August. And what you just saw in that video, Mr. Sunil Gupta, yes, that is an exclusive to AIM network. So that's why we keep saying to you all the time, like, share, subscribe, because you need to stay ahead of the curve and get things like that exclusively on your screens. And now, of course, let's move on and power on with the story. This infrastructure will power frontier AI model training, enterprise AI workloads, sovereign AI deployments, large-scale inference. More importantly, capacity will support startups, researchers, and public AI platforms under India's AI mission. AI leadership is about controlling compute, cost, and scale. Without domestic compute, AI remains expensive. Yeah, we felt that. Data leaves borders, which is a bigger problem. Innovation slows. With it, AI becomes deployable at population scale. Even though NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang cancelled his India visit due to illness, the company's presence was impossible to miss. NVIDIA announced partnerships with Yotta, L&T, E2E Networks, Indian manufacturers, and IT firms. These collaborations aim to build AI factories, deploy tens and thousands of GPUs, enable sovereign model deployment, scale enterprise AI agents across sectors. So basically, India is quickly becoming a trusted AI compute region. But you know what? Surprisingly, Reliance is silent at the moment. Hopefully, something worthwhile will be announced very shortly. While hyperscale compute grows, another wave is taking place. AI is moving closer to the user. CoreOver.ai has launched Bharat GPT Mini, an offline AI appliance built on NVIDIA Grace Blackwell architecture. The Astra Edge AI X device runs fully offline, stores all data locally, supports multilingual voice and text AI. It actually can be custom trained for enterprise defense and the public sector. It enables secure AI without internet access. This signals a very new direction. AI that is sovereign, private, and deployable anywhere. CoreOver's Bharat GPT platform is already operating at scale. And to actually give you a peek into that, it supports 8 lakh concurrent users, powers citizen services and assisted transactions, enables multilingual help across applications, IVR, and contact centers. Powered by NVIDIA speech models, the platform delivers real-time voice AI for high-volume environments. So what are we seeing is a stack which is forming, India's very own stack, and that is important. Hyperscale AI data centers, sovereign foundation models, thanks to Sarvam AI and BharatGen, Gyani.ai, and others, multilingual speech AI, offline AI appliances, enterprise AI agents. So basically, from cloud to edge, India is building intelligence infrastructure. This expansion comes as hyperscalers scale AI infrastructure in India. And then, of course, we have supply chains which shift due to chip export controls. And then nations localize compute for security and sovereignty. So basically, India is becoming an AI infrastructure nation. Congratulations. Hyperscale compute enables training. Edge AI enables deployment. Multilingual models enable adoption. So together, they enable population scale intelligence. And here, of course, as always, is the methodology on front page, which is the front page take. India's AI future will not be defined by one model. It will be defined by compute capacity, sovereign infrastructure, edge deployment, language intelligence. This week's developments showcases that India is building all four. Because in the AI era, nations that control compute control innovation. We've said this again and again. And India is not waiting for access. It is building capacity, and that could change everything, which actually is the real story amid all the chaos and confusion surrounding the India AI Impact Summit. And you know what? Here's the best part. As we've mentioned earlier, they have extended the summit by a day. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think Yotta, think NVIDIA, think AIM. Just as India was speaking about building sovereign technology on its own terms, Microsoft announced something which suggested the story wasn't confined to one country. The company says it is on pace to invest $50 billion by the end of this decade to expand AI across the global south, developing and emerging economies that will define the next billion users of intelligence. Microsoft plans to deploy AI infrastructure, cloud capacity, and digital platforms across emerging economies, helping countries leapfrog into the AI era. The strategy is expand compute, enable adoption, build sovereign-ready ecosystems. And you know what? This isn't a new wager. Microsoft already committed $17.5 billion to India's AI ecosystem between 2026 and 2029, its largest investment yet in Asia, at the earlier $3 billion investment. And you know what? India is becoming one of Microsoft's biggest AI infrastructure hubs globally. By mid-2026, Microsoft's Hyderabad hyperscale cloud region, it's actually the largest in India, will go live, expanding capacity across Chennai, Pune, and Hyderabad. The investment is designed to deliver impact where it matters the most, which is people. Microsoft is integrating AI into eShram and the National Career Service platforms, extending AI-powered job matching, multilingual access, and skill guidance to 310 million informal workers. Microsoft is doubling its skilling commitment to train 20 million Indians by 2030. But so far, here is what it looks like. 5.6 million trained since 2025. 125,000 plus jobs and entrepreneurship opportunities have been enabled. This, as we can see, is workforce transformation at national scale. Microsoft has also introduced sovereign public cloud, sovereign private cloud, in-country processing for Microsoft's 365 Copilot, compliance guardrails for regulated industries, which means data stays in India, governance stays in India, trust scales with AI adoptions. But then, why is Microsoft investing $50 billion across developing nations? 3 reasons. The first one, the next billion users are here. Emerging markets represents the largest growth opportunity. Then we talk about geopolitics, which is reshaping technology supply chains. Companies are diversifying beyond China. Then we have AI leadership, which requires global adoption. Platforms win when ecosystems grow. India sits at the intersection of all these three. And Microsoft isn't the lone ranger. Amazon plans $35 billion in India investments through 2030. Then we come to Google, which has announced a $15 billion AI hub in Visakhapatnam. Intel is backing India's semiconductor ambitions. Tata is building fabrication capacity. So in the coming days, more developments are definitely going to follow. AI leadership is about building models for sure, but it also is about compute, cloud, skills, sovereignty, population scale deployment. And India offers the ultimate proving ground by offering scale, diversity, languages, and real-world complexity, which essentially means that if AI works in India, it definitely works globally. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the front page take. Microsoft's $50 billion push into the global south isn't philanthropy, but a long-term business decision. India is emerging as the operational nerve center of this expansion. You know why? Because infrastructure, skilling, and sovereign AI frameworks all converge. From digital public infrastructure to AI public infrastructure, the transition is underway. The real AI race is now about who deploys intelligence at scale and just builds the smartest models. And that future may be built in the global south, of course, starting with India. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short little break, but then we're going to be back with Mr. Kanishk Singh. Three days done with three more now because, well, one day has been added after a one-day extension at the India AI Impact Summit 2026. Well, it has been a turbulent run. There have been infrastructure announcements and big ticket commitments. There has also been disruption, logistical strain, and the fact that the controversy over a, well, robotic dog that appeared anything but. So, as the summit passes its halfway mark, is this a defining policy moment or simply a well-produced showcase? We ask Mr. Kanishk Singh, our tech editor, and he will be, of course, weighing in and letting us know What is going on and what are his feelings about such a huge marquee event? Welcome to Front Page, Kanishk. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me, Sudhi. These 3 days have been quite a wild ride, I must say.
Yeah?
From announcements to controversies, as you mentioned, to investment opportunities, which may have been sort of a bitter pill to swallow because they are not as much, but they are still there.
But tell me this, Kanishk, I mean, I have to obviously ask you this. Do you believe that all of the, it's a marquee event, it's on the international global stage, we've invited luminaries, but then chaos which is logistical is painful.
True.
It showcases a certain sense of, well, call it tardiness.
An embarrassment.
Yes, an embarrassment, and those are the memories which we don't want people to carry back when we're talking about India setting the roadmap for the future as far as AI infrastructure is concerned. So what do you think has been the, well, main tone? Do you think the announcements and all of the commitments have overpowered the controversies?
Well, the controversies have definitely grabbed the headlines. If you look at X or if you look at other platforms, Galgotias is trending. Earlier, the chaos at the expos where some of these founders reported that their wearables got stolen. That was trending. So those things definitely did catch headlines. And they
But by the way, he got it back and it was a masterclass in marketing.
He got it. I hope Delhi police does as fantastic a job for the rest of us as well, where our wallets are lost. But yeah.
Well, those are wallets. This was a wearable.
Well, this was a wearable. This was a 12,000 rupee worth wearable. For just one wearable is 12,000 rupees worth, and it's a fantastic device as well. What Neo Sapien has furnished. But there have been quite a few other developments as well, which got drowned out, which we can talk here today.
Absolutely, and I want you to shed light on it. For example, healthcare.
Right.
For example, the big data center announcements.
Right. In healthcare, I think a lot of push came from the government this time, where the Health Minister JP Nadda, he announced at least 2 initiatives, and these are concrete initiatives. And there are some other initiatives as well, which are quite honestly up in the air. But these have been concrete ones, which is AI in healthcare for India, which is the SAHI initiative for integrating responsibly and ethically AI technology into India's healthcare infrastructure. Then there's the benchmark open data platform for health AI to create an indigenous benchmark for health AI models. So these are fantastic announcements.
Yotta, of course.
Yotta, I mean, yeah, when it comes to infrastructure, AI infrastructure, Yotta's 2 billion announcement is the headline grabbing one. Also, Micron will also start producing high bandwidth memories in India, which is a good news. Unfortunately, there are not many other infrastructure announcements that are coming in. Google today, though, that announced I think it's a 50 million subsea cable initiative. It's called the India-America Connect initiative, where subsea cables will be deployed from across Global South.
By the way, this was announced some time back, but it was launched today.
This was launched today, right. They had an event today. I think Visakhapatnam will be a gateway in that initiative. So that's there, but there are not as many funding opportunities, to be honest. Microsoft, as you said, had announced a $50 million. But that's for the Global South, and that already included the 17.5 million investment opportunity for India, which was announced, I think, in December. So all that is there.
But the fact is, okay, let me then ask you this. Sarvam AI, Bharat Gen, right? The people who essentially, I mean, the companies essentially doing the heavy lifting, and this was the general tonality and the understanding prior to the start of the summit that, you know, these will be championing the cause of AI as far as things are concerned. Do you think with their announcements and with their demonstrations, etc., which have taken place, and there's still some to go, do you feel that they have definitely made sure that they deserve the spotlight?
This is why the India AI Impact Summit is so crucial. It's to highlight these indigenous LLMs, these sovereign AI opportunities that India is creating for not just for India, but for the rest of the world. The best story from the entire event till now was from this IIT Guwahati student. His name is He's an IT Guwahati student, Shalingam Devangan. He created a 5 billion parameter multilingual model only for 1.1 lakh. That was the cost of his model.
Fabulous.
Now that creates a lot of opportunity. That democratizes AI.
Absolutely.
Right? So these are the stories which are coming up. There's Shod AI, which is creating a generative AI model for material sciences from India. We did an exclusive on that. Gyani has created a multi-billion parameter voice-to-voice AI model. And of course, Sarvam. Sarvam's 30 billion model, as you rightly said, passes benchmarks, but it's 105 billion model. Positions it directly with competitors like DeepSeek or ChatGPT. And that's big for India.
No, that's stellar. I also, Kanesh, want to ask you this. So let's say, I mean, you have been to events in the past. You have covered events extensively, both internationally as well. What do you feel should be that one central tone, or for that matter, that central aspect, which should be showcased to wow the world? Do you feel that this Impact Summit that we are currently undergoing has that? Does it have that? And was that a part of the thought?
Only if that Chinese dog was Indian. That would have definitely wowed the world. And you know,
wowed the world.
Absolutely. We're laughing at that, but there's a concern for embarrassment. There's also national security, which is that there's a reason why India banned TikTok. There's a reason why India effectively banned Huawei. That there were national security concerns. And then we have a Chinese manufactured dog, robo dog, which is coming and being displayed as an Indian dog. And there's another, I think it's, we're not sure actually, I'm not sure whether I should throw it in the air, but EY also created, has introduced a dog. We're not sure whether it's made in India. So all these opportunities do sort of
put a slight
dampen the mood. Absolutely.
Slight dampeners, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, but the upside. Since yesterday, Mr. Mohandas Pai was with us on Front Page, which was a wonderful spectacle. He did speak about the deep tech aspect, right? We talked about only 10,000 crores, which is invested, which according to him is peanuts. And I do tend to agree with him because of the fact that he just gave a very interesting comparison. Subsidies are 4 lakh crores, for example. And we are just looking at deep tech as something as 10,000 crores. Do you feel that that could have been a very important central point, especially on such an important summit on a global stage for us?
Definitely.
To wow the world that, okay, wait a minute, these guys are really working on things.
You know, you're absolutely right. 10,000 crores is peanuts. The India AI mission, I think 10,000 crores was also sanctioned for that.
10,371.92.
You're absolutely exact. I'm impressed. But in the current budget year, when Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, she presented the budget, the fine print was not as glorious. The allocation reduced from 2,000 crore last year to 1,000 crore this year for the mission, which is absolutely unpalatable. Last year itself, out of the 2,000 crores sanctioned, only 700 crores were utilized. So, like, where is this mission headed? How serious are we about building GPUs from India or building foundational models? Although there are some debates over whether or not it's feasible for India to build foundational models because India has a mastery in software services. So why not double down on software, and tie it up with these foundational models and use AI to enhance those softwares? But that also brings the jobs question into the picture. And the summit, though the summit began with chaos, it also began with concern over jobs.
Right.
I think it was
but when the Infosys Anthropic collaboration took place, maybe there was a slight sigh of relief. Do you feel, is that good enough? Or do we need a lot more?
We definitely need a lot more. There has been collaborations which have been taking place. In this summit alone, OpenAI has collaborated with Zomato, Make My Trip, Ixigo. NVIDIA has collaborated with so many companies that you have already mentioned. So collaborations are fine, but what's happening on the ground? The concerns over jobs is still not gone away. I think it was Microsoft India president only who said that, okay, AI will not kill jobs, it will only unbundle jobs, which makes sense. But how true is that? Because
no, but that's honestly, Ganesh, that's nice. It sounds wonderful. It's lovely. It's almost like a line out of a wonderful pitch deck. But let's face it, on ground, people are very, very unclear. There's a state of panic as far as jobs is concerned. Also, I'd like to ask you this. For example, a lot of people, let's say the model launches which have taken place, do you feel, I mean, have you received any form of feedback from the actual users who are using this, whatever has been launched in the summit, for example?
Well, the summit has
Because finally that's what matters, no?
Yeah, absolutely, that's what matters. It's just the launches, so I think it's a little early to say whether or not how well their impact is. We're also yet to see their the benchmarks on Hugging Face and all these platforms. So we're yet to figure out. Although some of these sovereign AI LLMs, they are pitching themselves as among the top on these benchmarks. But a lot really remains to be seen on how these sovereign LLMs are being used, because a lot of them are multilingual.
Sure.
They are voice to voice, they are text to speech. One is any to any. So, right. So it's very, glorious. It sounds very glorious, but it will take time. We will at least in the next 1 month, we should know how effective they are.
See, the reason I asked you that question, I'm going to connect it to something. So when we go head to head with platforms, like, so for example, an Aratai, when it was launched, was a direct sort of a, head on with a WhatsApp. You get my point?
Right.
Same logic is what I'm trying to understand from you, because yes, it's great for a demo. Yes, it's great for a launch. It's showing our power, flexing our muscles on a global stage. But do you feel that they have the legs to actually percolate down to the actual users, is my point. Is that buzz being created through the summit?
That's where that IIT Guwahati students come into the picture. When it comes to democratizing AI and the access to AI, right? Announcements are fine and good. Even Arata announcement was pretty great, but where is it now?
Yes.
Right? And then there have been lots of announcements, Sanjar Sathi and lots of these things. But the actual use really lies in the fact that how accessible it is to you and I, to us living in cities, to us tracking AI summits. We might as well just download these apps and figure out where, or just talk to developers and figure out how these LLMs are functioning. But to the person on the ground, not looking at the AI summit, still working their jobs and being impacted by AI, and how it's threatening their jobs versus how it's improving their jobs as well, because it is, to be honest. How that impacts them will take time.
Two things. One is the fact that as far as the infrastructure commitments and announcements which have been made, how does that indicate for India? Is it huge shift globally, or is it going to be a slow burn? And with 3 days to go, what are your expectations? And of course, tomorrow there is no expo area at the summit, because of the fact that there are going to be dignitaries who are going to be speaking. Most probably Mr. Sundar Pichai will be coming in. There will be other very high profile guests who will be there. So the expo area will be cordoned off, or it actually would not, there won't be any expo area tomorrow at the summit. So everyone who's watching, just make a note of that if you're going to be there tomorrow at the summit. And of course, now back to you, Kanish. I want to ask you, 3 more days to go. What are your expectations and the announcements which have been made regarding India? Are they exponential growth for India globally, or is it going to be a slow burn?
It really depends on what the announcements are. Something like Yotta, if those kinds of numbers really come in over the next 2 or 3 days, then yeah, we can be a little more hopeful of India.
Would you like to maybe share the numbers with our viewers if you have them at the top of your head? No.
On Yotta?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about the sheer number of announcements in terms of the numbers.
Right, of course. There have been not as many, but for example, in space, they said that, okay, yeah, we'll invest 6 crores, which is not a good figure in space tech startups. Qualcomm was much better. It announced a $150 million dollar boost over the next 4 years. Then Peak 50 also announced not as much, only 120 crores.
Which is not much.
Not much at all. That's why other than Yotta,
Yotta was 20,000 GPUs is what they're pledging.
Almost 21,000.
$2 billion worth.
And that too, Blackwell ultra fast GPUs, the B300s, which are really good. So that makes it hopeful, right? But there are lots more.
And of course, we had an exclusive interaction with Mr. Sunil Gupta, which was great.
Yes. But over the next 2 days, if we have figures like Yotta, we would definitely be hopeful. But there are because lots.
What do you expect out of Adani, though? I mean, it was announced yesterday, but in terms of now moving forward, do you feel there's anything which is going to maybe come from Reliance, because they've been relatively silent?
Reliance also promised something. Adani promised $100 billion infrastructure in data centers also over the next few years. So that sounds promising, but till now, at least from these two conglomerates,
Giants,
we have not exactly seen a lot of data center investments. Yotta is still the leader. 75% of India's GPU capacity is with Yotta. So I think our eggs are in that basket. But we're definitely hopeful. It really depends on what Adani's blueprint is for data center investments. But over the next 2 days, there are lots of more speakers.
Sure.
Tomorrow is going to be a heavy headlining day with Sam Altman coming, Alexander Wong, Julie Sweet from Accenture, Demis is also again going to appear.
Sundar Pichai.
Sundar Pichai, he was there today as well on a Google event. Then Brad Smith.
By the way, just I needed to add this. This is very, very important. It's big news. Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav has just said that India is to get 200 billion worth of investments over the next 1 year.
Right, over the next 2 years, he announced yesterday.
2 years, sorry.
Right, and he expects 200 billion investments over the next 2 years.
Sure.
Which I hope really comes to fruition. A lot of that again depends on how conducive the government.
I apologize, this was not just in.
Yeah.
This was announced. I just got over enthusiastic.
I mean, it is an enthusiastic event. The summit is.
Thanks for covering that for me.
Of course, the summit is
kind of you.
It's pretty.
Kind of you.
We are all pretty
I felt
excited.
like the robotic dog for a second. Yeah, fair.
Well, so yeah, tomorrow is going to be pretty exciting when it comes to the lineup. And the expo has been moved to from tomorrow. They're not going to show on Saturday. They're going to show.
Yeah.
So the event has stretched.
I just want to ask you this in conclusion. What do you feel would be the kind of takeaways that we would like as a sovereign AI nation for the world beaters and the leaders who are going to be coming in, lining up, speaking tomorrow as takeaways? What do you feel that should be the aspiration, or what is it that we are expecting them to have as takeaways when they leave?
Well, India AI Summit comes at a time when India is trying to pitch itself as a leader of the global South.
Right.
It is the first major AI summit in the global South itself. So when it comes to the regional leadership, a lot of these entrepreneurs, a lot of these big tech titans, they will try to position India as a global South leader, because at the end of the day, China is at the end of the day, it's being sidelined by American. Yeah, exactly. So India is well primed to be a leader in the global South. It also all depends on how effectively India can harness that particular opportunity.
Fair.
Right.
Fair enough. Kanishk, as always, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you so much for the numbers and the lineup that you just shared with us. Tomorrow is definitely going to be a big day.
Right.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow seems to be the one where it's going to be creating a lot of headlines at the summit. Of course, I just wanted to repeat again that the expo area is not going to be there tomorrow because of the high dignitaries who are going to be coming in, the officials. But of course, 3 more days to go. There is a lot to still expect, and I hope that what Kanish just mentioned, that the big boys who are going to be at the summit starting tomorrow are going to have that takeaway, that India is going to be the global South leader. And of course, if you want to interact with the AIM crew, they are going to be on the ground, Pallavi and Siddharth, and look out for them because they might just be having an interaction with you. And of course, AIM is going to be covering a lot of the events, is going to be covering this live. And Kanish, you're also going to be covering this as far as the Analytics India Mag situation, right?
Absolutely. We started live updates
on the website.
On the website itself,
so
yesterday.
Check them out, because
and we are very thorough. We are very proud of those live updates because we're very thorough.
Yeah, and I believe you.
Yes. Because we're covering all tech angles, whether it's from Indian AI or from big tech. All the developments that are happening at the summit, we're covering all of it.
Fabulous.
And we're keeping our readers abreast with all the developments.
Wonderful. Do you feel that Sam Altman is right about what he said last time in terms of Indian startups?
Well, he backtracked, didn't he? He absolutely backtracked, because he was going to come here and he's going to show up again. What he said last time, that Indian AI startups may not be as well placed to counter to drive the global AI narrative. But with the current developments, with what we saw today, with the Sarvam releasing its mature 105 billion parameter model, I think that narrative is sort of sliding. And when Sam Altman meets Indian founders at the summit tomorrow, I think he'll come up with a better takeaway.
Wonderful. Well, there you have it. And of course, that story and a lot more you can read in our magazine, which is the Analytics India magazine. And it has got some great stuff. It's gold there. And of course, you can also get the real-time updates. Unlike my Ashwini Vaishnav announcement out of sheer enthusiasm, these ones are real-time on the website, and they're constantly being updated. They're very thorough. And of course, we look forward to the next 3 days of the summit. One day has been extended. For right now, we're going to take a short little break, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Forward to. And joining us today is the doyen himself, Mr. Deepak Visweswariah, who is revered in the engineering community. He is, of course, one of the many feathers in his cap, has been the architect, engineer as far as the KRS dam is concerned. And that's just one of those things. It's just that his laurels exceed far more than I can read out on the show today. I'll run out of time. He is Senior Vice President and Managing Director of India at Pega Systems. And today, he leads one of Pega's most strategic global centers, where India plays a central role in product engineering, agentic AI development, and large-scale enterprise workflow transformations. And of course, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the one, the only, Deepak Visweswariah. Welcome to the show, sir. It's a true honor to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you having me here. So
no, sir, truly, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. As I just mentioned, and this is important that we, your valuable words on this would be wonderful to set the context for everyone. We have, gone past that entire aspect of Gen AI, and now we're talking about agentic AI and workflows with tools like Claude and very recently OpenClaw. So what is fundamentally changed? That's one. And the other bit is, why are enterprises now focused on how AI is running the workflows?
Yeah, that's a good way to start off the conversation in terms of, because a lot has actually changed over the last, especially over the last couple of years, I should say. Right? We've been using AI, essentially statistical AI, the fundamental form of AI. We've been actually shipping products for the last more than a decade, 10, 15 years now, right? But when generative AI came in a little over a couple of years ago, I think it started changing the fundamental way of how reasoning comes into, how intelligence is actually built into systems. And 2 years ago, most people started experimenting with generative AI to be able to figure out, okay, what it can do. People actually started doing these experiments. They could actually, build a glorified bot in terms of a chat bot to have a chat, or they figured out how to summarize something, a large paper into a paragraph, whatever. Those kind of, use cases were much easier to understand. Or to actually really, perform. It was visible. I mean, you could actually create some content. You could do all of those kind of things, right? And what started changing is that companies started investing in those kind of elements in order to show or give the visibility to such things. And board started, the board of directors typically, start looking at where the investment is going. And they start asking questions in terms of, so, okay, you're spending this much money on this particular tool or what have you, so what are the returns? Where are the returns? Are you reducing, the cycle time by 30%, or are you making something faster than what it was in terms of efficiency or what have you?
Or you increasing? Rejections are lower.
Exactly, right? Or a customer satisfaction for that matter, right? That is kind of what changed. And what that change is actually brought about is for the larger corporations to think about, okay, this is not just about being able to, do prompt engineering to an extent of being able to get an answer, an intelligent answer back, but it's really being able to do solid work in terms of actions.
Right.
Let's say, you look at, if you take financial services example, it's about how do you onboard a customer, or an insurance company, how do they process a claim. The act of processing a claim that goes through multiple steps in order to execute things, right? That is what has changed over the last 2 years, from being able to do experiments to really actually go fundamentally work through workflows that actually generate actions. And I think that's the fundamental difference. And that's why enterprises are now, focused on being able to actually do that.
I want to ask you this for sure, which is that, as you had mentioned, that the real value add is in the actual details of the processing.
Yes.
Right? And we have seen those kind of transformations, and it's fascinatingly exciting.
Yeah.
And it is, of course, still a work in progress, and they are moving.
Yep.
But what I want to talk to you, sir, about is this, that are enterprises today automating for broken workflows with AI? And is that what we are calling the so-called transformation, the AI transformation?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. That's what we don't want to call transformation, right? Solving a broken workflow. Well, let's take an example. What is solving a broken? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. Okay. I see this happening all the time. Right. In the industry.
Which is not a bad thing, to be honest.
Well, it doesn't give you much.
Okay.
And I'll explain why I say that, right? Let's say, for example, there is a workflow that was designed, 20 years ago.
Sure.
They used to do a process of, let's say, bringing a customer on board.
Sure.
That may require 10 different approvals in a company, that was the process 20 years ago. Now, fixing a, broken workflow, if you just take that whole thing and automate it, you're actually still requiring, 10 different people approve. Instead of actually signing a paper, they might be hitting a button.
Sure.
But that doesn't really change much.
True.
What you want to look at it is to change the perspective of what that workflow is, and or you able to rethink how that was being done in a different way.
Makes sense.
Right? In a Pega parlance, we actually talk about it as whether it is legacy transformation or a heritage transformation, whichever way you look at it, where you're actually going to look at a process and you're going to determine, you know what, I don't need these 5 steps.
Yeah.
Times have changed. We have much better data to say that, you know what, this data is accurate. I don't need someone to approve this because I already know this is 100% accurate. So I don't need anyone to approve. It can actually be automatically, it can progress to the next step of your workflow. So when those capabilities are with you, what you want to do is to first eliminate all of those kind of steps that are there, in your process.
Which are not critical maybe to the process or the value add to the process. Is that what you're saying, that remove the junk in a way?
Even if it is critical, you have the opportunity to be able to make a decision automatically without having to involve a human.
Fair point.
Right? So, before you may not necessarily be able to, let's say, confirm an address that belonged to a person. Before you may not have been able to really confirm a person is really the person that you're talking about. Today there is an easy evaluation with their Aadhaar card or whatever regulatory aspect that you can actually confirm that with, and a process can do that. You don't really need someone to read an Aadhaar card and write their number, for that matter, right? So that is what I mean by removing those that are there, and then you automate it. That gives you real power in terms of being able to, that's what I call transformation.
Makes sense.
Right?
Definitely makes sense what you're saying. Today, do you feel that, before I move on to the talent bit, which is something which I definitely want your thoughts on. But before we move on to that, I very quickly wanted to summarize this. Do you feel, sir, that as on date, we are still at a nascent stage in terms of the way AI workflows are working? And where do you see the real transformations and the real developments, for that matter, of the progress coming in, let's say, the next 2 years? If you could give it illustrated with maybe an example.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't necessarily call it nascent as of now, because I think it was nascent maybe a couple of years ago. The pace of progress that we have actually made in the field of AI and leveraging AI in applications, I think have actually moved at a faster rate than anything I've seen ever in my 40 years of experience.
Oh, wow, that's
right. We've been
quite
through
a
multiple.
Wow.
We've been through multiple transformations. Whether it was cloud transformation, whether it was CPUs, whether it was, you name all of those kind of things that we have been shifts in technology. This shift is moving at a significantly faster rate than anything that we have seen before.
Okay.
Now, in terms of AI, as far as both generative and what we refer to the latest as agentic AI, where there are agents that perform these actions autonomously to the most part, and then humans are actually all actively building those kind of actually systems. The change that I have seen that happen is how do you build these systems, especially with the you're working in, let's say, regulatory environments, banking environments, all of these that are mission critical. You can't afford to build a workflow that that is only accurate 50% of the time. That doesn't work that way, right?
I'm
thinking some people watching this right now might have had minor cardiac reflex.
Exactly, right. So the art of actually building these, the fundamental change, over the last couple of years has actually shifted over to ensuring that you build your agents in design time. And what that gives you the capability versus actually just doing prompting during runtime. That's what probably 80% of the companies went about when AI all came about. It was all about prompt engineering during runtime. I know how to figure out, create a great prompt and everything, works magically. No, that doesn't happen that way, right? We've been doing workflows for 40 years at Pega, from the beginning. That's been our bread and butter. And we, from the start, we knew that AI actually has to be embedded into workflows.
Sure.
And the intelligence needs to be built into the workflow. And so you go from workflow to AI, not the other way.
Ah, okay.
Okay. And being able to build it in design time, what it gives you the capability is to give it a guidance, in terms of this is what you want your agents or the AI agents to do. You give it a set of rules, you give it a set of criteria, you give it a set of path to move in, so that it doesn't go rogue, so that you have an auditable track of everything that it does.
I think that's the key bit. Yeah.
Absolutely, right? If an auditor wants to look at what happened, you want that trail to actually show whatever the AI agent actually did and why it did it that way. Because we are actually asking it, to do that way.
Sure.
Often enough, we actually say, AI cannot differentiate between a good problem and a bad problem, right? You give it a bad architecture, it will actually take you to build the system, in that direction.
Based on
very
that,
well,
yeah.
right? And in fact, it will do it that much faster than you would otherwise, right? So it doesn't really fix a bad architecture. It's really about the problem framing from humans that will direct the AI to build the right, to build the right system for that matter, right? How do you go about that?
Fair.
I think that's the fundamental shift. That's what has changed a lot. That's why companies are actually looking to build on workflows, because that's where the meat of the business outcome really is.
Finally, boils down to that.
Boils down to that.
Recent development, sir, encouraging one, Infosys's shares jumped because of its collaboration with Anthropic.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? And of course, what kind of a collaboration is Pegasystems looking at?
In terms of, yes, the recent announcement that just came in, and a lot going on with AI Summit that's actually happening in India, what have you. These collaborations are always useful for the progression of technology. And for the progression of technology in a country like ours, right? I think it makes a huge difference. We'll talk a little bit more about the talent and why that difference, that we have, and what kind of an edge we have in being able to do that.
And the upskilling of the talent as well.
Yes.
We have to shed light on that.
Absolutely. But, things like this, as far as companies coming together, very similar to, let's say, a Google announcing that they would actually invest so much, in a tier 2 city, in India. There are so many of these kind of relationships that are actually being built. And this will all make meaningful progress in terms of where the technology is heading, and what we look to do, take advantage of that. The biggest thing is, are we driving, solving customer problems? Are we driving business outcomes through these, through these collaborations, right? From a Pegasystems perspective, we are pretty agnostic in terms of the models that we, that we use. We integrate with all of these models, that are offered. What we do, very well is to be able to build intelligence into the workflows, and be able to offer both design time and runtime opportunities for companies to completely automate, essentially to get them to progress towards what we call as a vision of autonomous enterprise, where things do actually happen autonomously, right? So that has been our biggest move in the in the industry.
Any names that you might want to mention, that you might want to collaborate with? For that,
from a Pegasystems point of view, we operate with 90, a significant % of our revenues actually comes from very large enterprises. We work with some of the customers I can name probably for you, or customers like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, a couple of others. A lot of our financial services, is a big sector for us. Whether it is telecom, and a couple of huge telecommunication companies or major
one of the
clients.
leading ones as well.
Yes, in fact, they use us for being able to communicate or have customized customized interactions, right? In terms of, let's say, they use a product, called Customer Decision Hub, which allows them to customize any communication they might actually want to have with a person, that is tailor-made for the person.
But they're very strict, I believe, sir, in terms of their quality controls, things like that.
Course.
Does that put added pressure on Pegasystems?
That is something that we have always excelled.
And I believe nobody knows who we are talking about.
I did not name anything, right? And the idea of being able to have such systems at scale is something that we have done for a long time. That's what we have done for 40 years. We excel at being able to solve such complex, problems, and that is something that the quality and the scale of the system, the complexity that we handle in our workflows, or certainly something that that is driven through what we refer to as a center-out architecture, which is the center portion of our platform, which takes the entire, the customer problem and puts it in the center to be able to provide the solution in a channel, without actually having to. Like, let's say you might consume it on a mobile device,
sure,
while you're better off at home, may prefer a laptop, versus your office may prefer something else, a desktop or whatever else for that matter, right? So there are different channels that these messages get to, and then how do you really customize those kind of things, as well as being able to integrate to multiple data sources for that matter, right? So that's what we kind of excel in being able to do.
Fascinating. A lot of companies, sir, are encouraging their talent to get into prompt engineering. So would you call that digital transformation, if at all?
I would probably go to the extent of, getting your workforce to be able to attend a 3-week prompt engineering course, or, a 4-week prompt engineering course. I wouldn't call that a transformation either.
At all?
No.
Okay.
That's not really where people need to understand, how to change the mindset. This is not a technology problem.
Okay.
Right?
That's a mindset problem.
It's a mindset problem,
Okay.
right? This is about how to think AI first, and how do I use AI to the best that is possible to make myself productive, or make our company productive, and leverage the technology that is there to, that is there on the offering, right? Prompt engineering is just one piece of thing, that how to try and ask a question,
sure,
to a system. But what really, if you think about, what do you want to do with your workforce? How do you really, upskill them, and what do you want to do? First thing is, about where to use the technology. Right?
Yeah.
You want to basically, get your people to understand, am I, having a hammer in my hand that is called AI, and I'm going to look for nails that actually, that I can bang it with, right? I mean, not
like a game of whack-a-mole.
Exactly. Right? So not everything actually requires AI.
Okay.
Right? There are a lot of problems that can be actually solved in a lot simpler way.
Fair.
A small algorithm, a small formula probably can solve it. You don't necessarily need an AI agent to be able to solve every problem you can think of, right? So one is that, to be able to kind of understand, get your talent to understand that. The second is really to be able to understand the mindset change in terms of, a lot of people kind of, put it under, change management, that is so hard to do. The companies that actually go through understanding that change mindset will have a huge advantage, because a large part of your talent will need to jump on that bandwagon. I mean, companies won't have a choice.
I agree.
So they will need to. So, for people to understand, it is not about, I think the biggest thing companies can do to be able to, convey, to their talent is, it's not about losing their job. That's not what is actually happening. What is happening is to show them that, let's take an example of, let's say, a QA engineer, for example. A QA engineer sometimes, spends a significant amount of time creating test data. That is as mundane a job as you can do in terms of creating test data. Who wants to sit and do that, for a significant part of their time? If I have a tool that can actually, do this for them, why would we not, do that so that they can actually focus much better on what, testing strategy do I use?
They can be a lot more creative as far as things are concerned.
Absolutely. There's so much, higher order value things that we can actually do, right? That's what you want to upskill your talent with, the mindset change of, here are a set of tools that I can actually use to make myself better, to make my job better, to make my company, work better, in all sense, in all of those directions. I think that's a huge step that organizations will need to take to train. And the third thing I would say is to something that we all look to build in our culture is that curiosity mindset. You want that learning capability that, earlier I talked about the rate of change, in the technology today, that this is actually moving faster than ever. If we don't have that learning and then the curiosity mindset to be able to learn things that are, you sleep for a week and get up, you would have already become obsolete probably,
so don't sleep,
with the changes.
Don't sleep.
I mean, with the
changes.
But
is that what would you like to say to probably a lot of the people, the talent which is at Pegasystems? Because I'd like to mention this, that the India talent plays a very significant role in Pega's global product and AI roadmap. So, of all of the aspects that you just mentioned, sir, I would like for you to tell us. One is, how is it that you position yourself as far as the talent is concerned? And the upskilling bit.
Absolutely.
Shed some please light on that.
And
finally, what would you tell your talent which on the fact that what truly is digital transformation, if you were to sum it up in a line?
Absolutely. In terms of from a Pega perspective, right? We have a pretty matured, global capability center based out of India, both in Hyderabad and in Bangalore. And, I would probably say that we have actually moved on from being a delivery center to a decision center.
Nice.
So this is kind of where, we actually have 37% of the company globally, from the global company, we actually have that kind of investment in India. So it's a huge investment, a very strategic investment that is made. And we have a very mature team in terms of that works on these kind of things, where we actually make decisions, we actually create roadmaps, we actually have access to customers, we actually have everything that there is a need, for us to make decisions. So it is not it's not just a delivery center where you're given a roadmap, execute this kind of thing, right? So a lot of GCCs have actually moved on from that era to be able to actually look at as far as being able to own products, being able to, have that ownership and capability to deliver on things, to innovate. Most important is to be able to innovate, what the company needs, right? So,
which ecosystem in terms of the GCCs, let's say state-wise, for the lack of a better understanding, would you say is better? I mean, would you say Bengaluru, would you say Hyderabad, would you say Maharashtra, would you say?
I think it is pretty obvious if you see the ecosystem, right, in terms of, especially from a GCC perspective, Bangalore and Hyderabad have been the front-running, cities by far.
If you were to pick one?
I have my heart, legs in, each one. I would hurt people if I said one or the other.
Very wonderfully said. Right? Truly like a managing director, I have to say.
No, for us, both the cities are equally important, and we believe that there is a lot of talent.
Would you like to maybe also establish in Tamil Nadu moving forward?
There are always opportunities. It depends on the scale, right? The fundamental decisions that you would make, or when do you actually look to expand, and where would that actually be? Or decisions that people like us would end up having to make at any given point in time. So that depends on the scale of organizations that you actually have. Right now, where we are, I think we are great in terms of where we are located between Hyderabad and Bangalore. They're close enough and for us to be able to collaborate and everything. And so that has actually worked well for us. If we have to scale, definitely we will look at other opportunities as far as where else we can actually go.
Talking about opportunities, sir, the India AI Impact Summit has just been announced. A proud moment for the country, you feel?
Absolutely.
And the fact that, what do you have to say also about, there is this constant panic, as you'd mentioned a little while back, that the AI is coming for jobs, etc. But with this latest development of Anthropic and Infosys, that seems to well get a little deflated, that people are no longer panicking. Am I right in saying that? And what would you like to say to a lot of the young developers who are watching?
Absolutely, that's a great point, right? I think it is, we need to continue to reinforce that. There is some of this perception of, or is AI taking away jobs? And just like as you said, this recent announcement from Infosys and Perplexity for that matter, or some of the other things that we've actually continuously been talking about, is to reinforce the fact that it is not about, this is really humans along with AI. It's not one or the other, right? Like I said earlier, humans really construct the problems much better than AI can.
Sure.
And then you can actually give it to the AI systems to solve some of that for you, or to build some of those systems for you with its help. But still, even studies that are done at Harvard or wherever else actually say that humans actually construct the problem much better for that matter. So that is one thing. I would say in terms of for the younger generation, not to be concerned about or not to be afraid of being able to embrace the technology shift. You have to be curious, you have to learn, and you want to master in terms of what the technology offers for you to take on. I think what youngsters should really look at being able to do is, to what extent can I leverage? I'll give you an example. Today, I grew up as a developer, okay? I coded a lot in terms of writing, whether it was C code, Java code, whatever, over the years, right? And one of the things we are looking at right now is we don't want our developers to write a lot of code.
Okay.
Right? So we're starting to asking, lots of corporations are actually asking questions in terms of, okay, how much of the code is actually AI generated versus what you're writing, right? You don't need to write as much anymore, but you know what? Your creativity, your analytical skills are applied as much in terms of building that system, making sure that it is designed for scale.
And they, I believe, sir, will forever remain human, bro.
That is the thought process. At least for now, I don't think we have any doubt in that sense, right? I think that's what I would love for youngsters to think through and really have that creative and curious mindset to learn things and be able to apply them in what we do.
Sir, in summation, I'd like to please request you for a message. Also, what are your future plans looking like as far as Pega is concerned? And how impactful has been the India AI Impact Summit?
Great. I think, okay, there are 3 questions in that. Let's see how we can get through that. One is, the message that I would leave, people with is, don't consider everything to be transformational, right? It has to truly impact a business. It has to truly change the facet of a business to really just creating agents for the sake of creating agents is not transformation. If a CEO asks me, what have you done? If I say I created 47 AI agents, does it matter? Probably not, right? But what I have to be able to show is, what? By using these, I actually, improved customer satisfaction by 30%, or I reduced your cycle time by, X%. That's what makes a difference. That's what I would call transformational, right? That's one thing I would like to, leave a message with, right? Secondly, from a Pega perspective, I think we are in a fantastic position in terms of where we are in the market. We have actually seen a significant adoption of some of our AI technology, a great technology that we have called Pega Blueprint. A Pega Blueprint is a tool that is available to everyone on our pega.com website. If you just go to pega.com/blueprint, anybody can actually access Blueprint. And Blueprint is something that is an AI tool. It's actually a design time AI agent, as we call it. Right? It will give you an opportunity to be able to take an idea and really build a system all the way through, walking you through it, to be able to actually create a system that is deployable in a Pega environment. Nice. In less than couple of days, a few hours, you can actually get to the system, but you can actually refine it over time as well. That is transformational, right? Pega is at the cusp of that kind of transformation, where we see large-scale adoption from our customers in terms of what they are actually doing, how they are implementing a lot of the technology in production. The key thing that we can actually say is that a lot of our AI technology is already in production.
Nice.
Customers have actually taken an idea from, and put an application in production in less than 90 days. That's transformational, So Impressive. That's kind of where we are as Pega Systems, which I think is a phenomenal position to be at. Lastly, the India Summit.
Right? The impact of it.
I think we are at a threshold where India, can leapfrog a lot of other countries, to be very honest, right? I think the things that we have at our disposal is something that is set us up to be at this stage, at a position where we have, the destiny is in our hands. Let me put it that way, nice. Right? We have an opportunity to be able to lead the world. Even though we may be the 4th largest economy today, but we have the opportunity of as good as the #1, country, to that end. We have, that kind of an opportunity.
The potential.
Yes, for us. We have, I think, in terms of what is required from a talent point of view, we have a talent pool that no one can actually, compare to what we have in this country, right? I think we have the best talent pool, the most available talent pool.
Are you hiring, by the way?
Of course, we're always hiring.
You could say that directly to that camera.
Absolutely. If you are interested in working, at Pega, just reach out to me, and then we'll be happy to, have a conversation.
I'm sure that brought a lot of smiles to a lot of people watching.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so too. I think, so one is the talent pool that is available. I think it's an incredibly advantageous thing for us. The second thing is the infrastructure. I think a lot of the companies, as well as the governments, are helping build that infrastructure that is required. In this particular summit, we have seen some announcements. We have seen companies coming forward to building some of those, that kind of infrastructure that is actually required to be able to, make this happen. And I think number 3 is the ecosystem, right? We have had a heritage in India of having developed the IT services industry, for the world, right? And I think we did that like no other country did. If you think of IT services as a segment, I think we excelled at being able to put that in place. And I think that ecosystem has the opportunity really to change the world as far as how an IT services was put together to really look at what AI services can actually do, right? I think those kind of things combined gives us such an opportunity that irrespective of whether we jumped from 2G to 4G,
sure.
What have you, I think we have a significant opportunity to leapfrog, to be one of the foremost economies, in the world. I think it's a window of time.
Nice.
And I think the most important thing is to realize that we have got to do this fast. If there is any complacency of, we have all these assets that we can actually rest our laurels on, we might actually lose that window.
Fair.
That's the concerning thing for me, is that window. We've got to be able to do it fast.
So the opportune time, sir, it's been truly an honor having you here with us. It's also very, very encouraging for a lot of the people who have been watching, because you've just told them that you're hiring. And of course, this is wishing Pega all of the best onwards and upwards in terms of your journey moving forward. And may collaborations happen which can only add so much of value addition to everything that you do in the times to come. It's truly been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed really being here. Your wonderful conversation. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Yes, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Deepak sir has spoken a lot about transformation. He's also spoken about the fact that it is about reinforcing the fact that there needs not be any fear. It is about upskilling oneself, and the fact that the future looks bright and nice. And if you're looking, the future looks better at Pega. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.